Do I have share screening capabilities right now?
Yes, let me put that on for security. All right, awesome. So I'm going to introduce Merv Lumba, our speaker for tonight. So Merv Lumba just recently graduated from Temple University with a BS in exercise and sports science, and he just recently got his CSCS at the end of the year. So now he's a graduate assistant at Umass Lowell in Massachusetts and is a graduate student at Merrimack College. So now he's going to talk to us about what his experience has been like at the strength and conditioning realm after post graduation. And he's just going to talk to you guys about what his experience is like. And not to mention, he has USAW right there. All right, let's give it a round of applause for Merv Lumba. Let's go.
Thanks,
Right,
Mike.
yeah.
Can you guys see my screen all right? Yay, yay.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, cool. So thanks for having me. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate your time. So today we'll be talking about making the transition into grad school from where you're at right now. Is everybody planning on attending some kind of higher level education post undergraduate? Yay, nay, maybe. Thoughts about it?
Yay.
Yeah.
Even if not, like, we're still worth valuable material later on we'll go over. So background, like Mike said, Temple class of 2020 kinda. We didn't really walk, but I have the degree, so you have that. Graduate fellow at Umass Lowell. My primary responsibilities include programming for the Division I track and field program. And next week I start with men's ice hockey on a rotation, working with their program. They're currently ranked, I believe, I think top 25 in the nation. So that'll be a good time. So that's through Merrimack College. So they have a graduate fellowship program that I can talk about a little bit later for people who are interested. It's not just strength and conditioning either. They do also do clinical work. So like you can do a fellowship clinically. Intern at Penn for a year under Coach Stephen Brindle and head director Corey Waltz. I did virtually everything at Campus Rec. I worked in the gyms. I taught yoga, did aerobic, fitness, and helped onboard certain staff members too. So a lot of my come up was through Campus Rec. Shout out to everybody else who's Campus Rec right now. Strength coach at the Anderson Monarchs. Anderson Monarchs are a little league youth organization in Philly. So also if you're interested in getting involved with them, they're local and I could put you in touch with somebody who's in charge of their strength and conditioning program, or just if you want to get involved, I can put you in touch with the director if need be. Also served as a College of Public Health ambassador with Mike, I think a little bit with Kayla, a little bit. So a little bit of that, but not too much. So that's kind of what I did at Temple in a nutshell. Topics we'll be going over today: building a solid undergraduate resume in and outside of the classroom, applying to graduate school, and sustaining success. So ways to build a solid undergraduate resume. First of all, do you have a resume? At this point in your curriculum, you should have a resume of some kind. And if you don't, or you need help looking over one, either ask your professors about it or ask the Career Center at Temple about it. Reach out to whoever you need to get involved with that. I know at Merrimack College, we have something called the Center for Career Development. And so we have an advisor who not only helps us with our resume, our cover letter, but also helps us get live job analytics of what the market looks like right now. So like the other month, I did a job search on what strength and conditioning jobs look like around the nation. And so take advantage of that while you're at Temple. I'm sure they have something there. How academically invested are you? If you're planning on pursuing graduate level studies, it is assumed that you know a lot of baseline information like physiology, biomechanics. It is assumed because that information builds on one another, right? So the point of graduate level studies is to enhance what you learned as a undergraduate. So if you don't have a solid understanding of the basics, then that will bite you either at the next level or when you become a professional. Um, and don't take that like oh man, like I have to get an A in everything, but be competent enough in your ability to retain the information and also communicate that with somebody else. Are you in the right field? And it's okay if you don't know, right? For the first 3 years of my time at Temple, I was pre-physical therapy. And when I was um, in my junior year, I was a kinesiology major initially, and then I had a moment where I had spent like over 150 hours of my time within a physical therapy clinic, and I it was the slowest time of my day, and I was like, "What am I doing here?" Right? Like I don't, and I tried to write about it, and I was like, I have nothing worth writing about from this experience besides the fact that I don't want to do this anymore. And so I got involved at Penn. And so some days at Penn, like I'd get in at 5:15 and I'd go to class and I'd come back and my days ended at like 7:30 at night. But like still the the fastest part of my day, the most entertaining part of my day. So I knew that this career was for me. How involved are you in and outside of the classroom? Um, Involvement doesn't mean like raising your hand and being necessarily a teacher's pet, but it just means like how active are you participating with with the information being delivered to you? Like, are you asking questions when you're unsure of stuff? Are you going out of your way to try to research things that you're unaware of? So you have to keep that in mind. How involved are you? Also outside of the classroom, like what kind of experiences you have. As exercise and sports science majors, you have an internship built in, right? From what I understand, you have the experience built in, like take advantage of that. And so it comes down to like what have you accumulated over your time at Temple. Crush your internships and extracurriculars because these are the people that you are going to get references from. Um, as a graduate, like when you get to the next level and you're applying for positions, it's beneficial for you to not only have recommendations from your professors, but also from people you've worked with at either your internship or a different extracurricular opportunity. It's to your advantage, so just so that you have some kind of experience in not only performing at a high level within academia, but also saying like, hey, like I know this information so much so that like I used it in an internship in a practical setting, because that's what this is about, right? You learn it in the classroom so you can apply it on the field. So crush these and develop solid relationships with your peers, teachers, and mentors. Like I try to keep in touch with my Temple people, and I always make it known that I want to be a resource for them if they need any advice on the process moving forward, whether or not they're trying to move forward with graduate level school. Your teachers and your mentors. Um, I know like I still keep in touch with my people at Penn every now and then. And my teachers like from Temple, like I'll reach out to, or Dr. Skurza reaches out every now and then on Instagram, and he sends me a positive affirmation every now and then. So that's nice to see. But, you know, I'll always say that like I stand on the shoulders of the people who got me to where I am. And like no matter what my success looks like in the future, like that level is achieved because they got me to that point. And I think especially at Temple, the faculty within the exercise and sports science program really cares about their students. Know who your references are and ask them for letters of rec way in advance. And like be on them about this, right? You don't want them to forget about this because this could cost you graduate school admission. So if these are late, that's not a great look. And know who your references are when you're applying for a professional position. Just and ask them, hey, can you be one of my references? Like before you put them on as a reference, make sure that you reach out to them and ask if it's okay for them to be a reference for you. And like another thing, like side note, like who's the company that you keep, right? It's you are a reflection of the people around you. So if you're around people who are consistently unmotivated, and don't plan on, or they don't understand your drive, like those aren't people that are trying to help you become more successful. You want people around in your life that are supportive of um, the things and your aspirations. Like they don't have to be in the same field, but as long as they're supportive in your success, then I think that's like one of the most important things. So next, we're going to talk about applying to graduate school. Really important, what program are you looking at? Are you looking at an exercise science program with a strength and conditioning emphasis? Are you applying to PT school, sports psych, OT, PA, med school? Because all of these programs have different requirements, right? They have different GPA requirements, prerequisites involved, and like depending on how competitive the school or program might be, the average GRE of the person admitted might be super high too. Um, so understand that. Because these prereqs are way different, right? So like with your exercise sports science program, you probably qualify for a general exercise and sports science master's program. But you may not necessarily qualify for a physical therapy program off the bat, like because you need like Gen Chem 1, 2, Bio 1, 2, Physics 1, 2, stuff like that. And I'm not sure of the sports psych or OTPA requirements per se. Additionally, where are you willing to go? I did not care where I went, which didn't limit me in my search. However, it's very real for people to understand that you might want to be close to your family, or maybe you have a significant other in Pennsylvania or on the East Coast, and like you got a position on the West Coast. Like, um, it's where are you willing to go for grad school, and like narrow it down, because your options are super wide if you have the whole nation out in front of you, but understand that like moving is super stressful. um, who are the faculty and what are their research interests? I was speaking with Mike the other day about this, um, when he was talking about applying to specific programs, and I asked him like what are their research interests, um, and who are the faculty, who are those people at the school. Like the school may be ranked super high in terms of like quality of the program. Like if you look up top exercise sports science programs and this institution comes up, like you're like, oh, I'm definitely going to apply because they're like number one and I know I'm a good student. But like if they're studying like cardiac cells in like rabbits, and you don't want to study rabbits, then like it's not a great fit. You know what I mean? It's like trying to jam a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work. So I mean, I got really blessed that my faculty were also practitioners at some point, and I have a lot of practical experience. So that's something that I wish I did a little bit more of when I was going through this process. It was like trying to understand what the research interests are of the faculty at that institution. Do we have Temple alumni who go there? So really quick, cool tool. I'll show you guys all. If you don't have a LinkedIn, make sure you have a LinkedIn. But so do Temple alumni go there? See if I could copy and paste this. Stop sharing. You guys see this?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So if you have a LinkedIn account, right, this really cool function that I learned literally the other day from one of my advisors. So it's your LinkedIn homepage, right? So you get to see everybody in your feed, your professional network, whatnot. But then let's say look up Temple University, right? And then from here, this function here is called alumni. So you press alumni and you search here by title, keyword, or company. So let's say I'll look up strength and conditioning. And then these are all the people who have listed, who have come out of Temple, who are now professionals in the field, who are strength and conditioning professionals, but they came from Temple. And so you can automatically bridge that gap and being like, hey, like I'm in the Temple program now. You know, I'm really interested in strength and conditioning and like was wondering if you could like, you know, take time out of your day to have a conversation with me about your journey, right? It's like you look here, like these people aren't like, I'm pretty sure, I mean, oh, there's Aiden. Yeah, connect with Aiden. I'm pretty sure this kid Brett is in our program too. Sean Boyle. So really cool here. Really awesome function, and definitely take advantage of that. If you have a LinkedIn, if you don't have a LinkedIn, make one. I'm sure Temple offers some kind of professional sharing network kind of thing. So take advantage of that for sure. I did that through Merrimack. And helped me out a ton. Let me switch back to the PowerPoint. Are we back?
Yes.
Beautiful. Is there an opportunity to get practical experience? I kind of alluded to that earlier. Really important if you, especially if you're trying to get within strength and conditioning, important to have some kind of practical experience. Who are the practitioners of the school? And off of that, can I become a TA or GA? You know, some of my friends who I interned with at Penn are TAs and GAs at different schools around the nation. You know, I have the graduate fellowship at Merrimack, so that helps me get funding for my program as well. And like, we're all accumulating some kind of student debt. So if we can alleviate that in any capacity, like do that to the best of your ability. Questions to ask yourself. So this is going to be a little bit more interactive. So if people, I'm gonna, I guess, just like call on people. Not a lot of us, so I guess everybody will go. But just potential questions to ask yourself, because these all came up when I was undergoing the interview process. And it was a lot of, chinks in my armor that I didn't even realize existed, because like it really punches you in the face when you're sitting there in front of somebody and they ask you like, what are you reading? And I was like, well, and you can't think of something right away, that's a problem. And so I was able to manage, but you learn that like, somebody's always going to ask you what you're reading. So with that being said, Mike, what are you reading?
How to Win and Influence Friends. It's a great book. I just picked it up on Amazon. It took me about 3 months to order it, but I just got started on the book. It's about, basically communicating with people so that you're able to, create buy-in with your populations. I would recommend it for any professional that needs, to improve their communication, especially Hughes with sports psychology and Connor Agnew was talking about, just creating buy-in with his athletes in his first presentation with us. So I'd highly recommend that book.
Thanks for sharing, Mike. Um, but questions that I continue to see were, why do you want to do this? Um, I think it's important that if you're moving forward for grad school, like, or even in your career, like, you have to ask yourself, why do you want to do this? Um, do you get genuine happiness out of this? Because I'll tell you, like, people aren't going to be down your throat about, like, did you do the reading? Um, did you do the assignment? They just say, like, here are the readings for the week. We have lecture once for 4 hours, and then it's on you for the rest of the time, like, to read that and make sure you're prepared for that information. Because if not, then, like, it will not make sense. Let's go back here. Where do I see myself in 5 to 10 years? Um, what are your core values? So I have listed mine. Mine are growth, hard work, and integrity. And these are the core values that will continue to drive me no matter what position that I obtain moving forward. I was wondering if Lindsay would be willing to share what her core values are.
My core values are in myself a hard work ethic, but also being true to myself, because if you aren't true to yourself, how are you supposed to be true to anybody else? And going back to the hard work ethic, my college journey hasn't been the easiest one, but if it hadn't been for my work ethic, I wouldn't be graduating in the spring and being a first generation college student in my family.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that.
You're
Gabby, what are your core values? I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would definitely have to agree with Lindsay with the staying true to yourself, because I'm a big believer, and if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing or something what I like isn't going well in my life, if I don't like something, basically, I'm not gonna do it because what's the point? Um, and then also a big one for me is like just enjoying like joy slash happiness in the work that I am doing. So I would they're kind of go hand in hand with each other, because I really feel like it's important that you like Dr. Skurza would always say, I'm not working because I enjoy what I do. So it doesn't feel like I'm going to work. So I think that's really important to have. And if I'm not interested, if I don't like what I'm doing, I'm not going to put the work in. I'm not going to work for it. I'm not going to I just don't feel interested. So why pursue something that I don't care about?
Understood. Understood. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate that. Um, a big thing when you move forward with interviews is, what makes you different from everybody else, right? It's consistently about creating this separation between what you have to offer as a student from Temple University, with your, like, certain experiences, and how is that different from everybody else. um, I'll share with you a personal anecdote from when I was applying for my graduate fellowship. So at Merrimack, the way they set it up is you have a day that you're called to campus that you're invited to. It's called interview day. And basically on interview day, based off of your interests, you are given like 7 to 8 interviews in a day, each with like a 20-minute block of time. It's pretty much speed dating grad schools, in honesty. It's really, you're trying to figure out like where you would work best, and you're trying to impress all these people, and it's a really exhausting day. And so a lot of these questions came up, and something that I constantly struggled with was like, what makes me different from other people? Because, like, ultimately, I thought at Temple, like, I was, on top of my academics. Um, I had a lot of commitments to a lot of different things. I had a very wide array of backgrounds, and I thought I was a competitive candidate until you got there and you realized everybody's a competitive candidate. Everybody is smart at this level. Everybody has had some kind of experience. Um, but what made me different? And I didn't think of that because I just assumed I was different, you know. But it really punched me in the face when I struggled to find like a fellowship after like going through it, because like so many of us had similar things, and I failed to present myself in a way that made me different and more valuable per se to an employer. And so that's like a lesson that I learned the hard way. I mean, I'm completely grateful for my time at Lowell now. um, and they're prepping me for the next level too, and I have class with all these kids that I interviewed with. um, so there's all of that, but at that time, it made me feel really insecure about, like, man, did I really do like a ton at Temple? And like a lot of people who knew me at Temple was like they didn't even like hesitate to answer that question. They would be like, of course, like you did a lot at Temple. um but it's being able to show that to somebody that's important. What is my coaching or treatment philosophy? I don't know if they asked this like in for when you apply to PT school or whatnot, or like PA school. But I also figure I ask because that's something that comes up in terms of like, what are your non-negotiables as a coach? Like, what is your training philosophy? So put Kayla, I don't know if Kayla's on or if she's like she has to get ready and stuff, but I figure I asked her because she's got her stuff at Fit Academy. What is your coaching philosophy?
Yeah, so I'm still on here. I'm definitely listening to
Okay.
all of this. It's been super helpful. I actually love these questions because like they're making me think a lot, which is great. But I would say for me, as a coach, some of my things, I guess my biggest thing is I don't take excuses. I'm going to push you no matter what, and I don't like excuses and I don't like negative energy. I'm a very positive person, so something that I really like is like I don't take the word I can't do this. I don't take I'll try. It's like I'm going to do this. I'm going to give my best effort. So it's really just coming in with a positive attitude. As a coach, like that's like my number one rule. Like you have to have a positive attitude no matter what. And that's really how I enforce myself as a coach. And even that translates to cheer practice and any other coaching experience I've had, is just keeping that positive attitude, because that's how you're going to be the most successful. One of my favorite quotes is, whether you think you can or can't, you're right. So it's changing that mindset to like, I can do this, I am going to do this, as opposed to I might be able to do this or I can't do this.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate that. Um, Sam, Sam Payne, my guy. What is your coaching philosophy?
Yo, what was that question again?
What is your coaching philosophy when you're working with clients or athletes? What is your, or even yourself? What is your coaching philosophy?
So in terms of my coaching philosophy, I like to train specific towards, like when I'm training my clients, like more so for like specific sports. I like to train and elicit like workouts that they were what do you call it, that actually mimics like the movements that they do on the field of play. And for me personally, I'm more of a guy, like, not to say I like to take it easy on my guys, but I don't like to implement too much stress on them. So for me, like pain is always a negative sign, and it's always like a telltale sign for me to draw back a little bit with the intensity and the volume.
Gotcha. I think that's a really good answer in terms of like being a conscious strength coach or a conscious personal trainer. So thank you for sharing that.
No problem. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah. What are your strengths slash areas of needed improvement? Um, I know for me, like I don't ever like saying what are my weaknesses. Um, it's just like areas that I need to improve on, right? So I like phrasing it in that way because it assumes that like I'm continuously working on it. And the tricky part about this question is that like you can't come off as it, you have to come off as if you're consistently trying to improve that area, and you're aware that this is like something that you struggle at. Because if you say something that you struggle at and you don't provide like any feedback as to how you're improving it, like what's to say that you won't be that they won't hire you because like you lack that area. um, let's say for instance like you're really shitty at time management, um, and you really need to improve in this area, but you don't provide any tangible feedback as to like steps you're doing to improve upon that area, then like why are they going to hire you, especially if you're a strength coach? Like your hours are ridiculous. So if you don't know how to manage your time and you're not working to get better at that, then you're not going to get the position. And also really important, like you have to show yourself off, and you really have to, something that I struggle with is like, positive affirmations for myself. And I always try to diminish the things that I accomplish, because like I knew, like for me, like this was like something that I was supposed to do. But like I always try to diminish what I do. And so that shows when I try to like talk about what my strengths are. Again, important that you don't come off as super cocky. Important that you come off as like you're not better than somebody else, but like this is something that I excel at, right? Like for me, one thing that I think that I do really well is develop relationships with the people around me, of a bunch of different populations, and that's just because of the experience that I've had in the field. I mean, it's made me better at communicating with people, better at developing relationships, because for me, I think that's the way that you get into like improving an athlete, like trying to create relationships, and through that relationship make that individual better. And if you're not good at developing relationships, you will struggle no matter what you do. So Nicole, Penn intern alum, I don't know if you're still there, but at Penn, but what are strengths that you have and areas of needed improvement?
Yeah, I'm still here. So some strengths that I have is that I'm still super new to strength conditioning. So I'm like a sponge. Like you said about being cocky, like I'm definitely the opposite of cocky since I had no idea what I was doing, and I'm basically ready to learn everything. And some areas of improvement are getting just learning the basics and learning more advanced stuff when it comes to strength conditioning and coaching, as well as just like having like also building confidence too, because at the beginning I obviously was not confident, but now I'm getting more confident. That's definitely a place that I'm improving on.
Good. I'm happy to see that kind of development in you. Especially as somebody who came out of a similar program that similar curriculum at Penn. So I'm glad that you're aware of those things, and thank you for sharing. Paige, what are you reading? It's okay if you don't have an answer either.
I do not have an answer currently.
That's
unless you count my biomechanics textbook and my principles of personal fitness textbook.
Wow, so academic. I mean, literally for one of the questions, I was like, I'm reading the NSCA textbook. Like, yeah. I'm reading that. I'm trying to pass the CSCS. Like, this is what I'm reading right now. But right now I'm getting through Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Great read, really great read. Like if I could buy a copy and send them all to you, I would. But we're on that grad school budget, so I can't. But it's called Can't Hurt Me. It's by David Goggins. If you're also interested, my professors shared with me a 3-page long list of books to read about either strength and conditioning or even just professional development. So if anybody's interested, my contact info, I mean, I have like most of everybody's number here anyways, but like I can share that also with you afterwards. And then lastly is like, do I know faculty at and students at the school already? And so like LinkedIn is that great tool. So let's say I mean, if you guys try to apply to Merrimack, then like obviously you know who I am, and like um, you'd be able to reach out to me about what that process looked like. It's like year-long master's program with advanced level strength and conditioning, taught in an actual like Division 1 weight room with a collegiate strength coach who's had years and years of experience in the field already. One of my professors was in the Army, and now she is a reservist, but like she has her PhD in exercise physiology. So like she's pretty phenomenal. And my nutrition professor came from the first nutrition program that was ever developed in America. Like in 1985, Tufts University was the first nutrition program sponsored by the government, and was like, hey, like this is the first nutrition program, and we're going to invest in it. So he came from that program. So I really love my professors at Merrimack, and I got really lucky. But other places, I think Stonehawkers at North Carolina, Michael Stonehawker, not Chapel Hill, but a different one. I think it's UNC Charlotte, if I'm remembering that correctly. But that's where Michael Stonehawker is. Grace Moore, I think, is at Temple still in the master's program. So if you ever are thinking of that, like you can ask her about that. Aiden is still at Temple with Temple football. So you can, he's a resource that you can reach out to. Trying to think of who else moved on. I think Steve Murphy is in the master's program or PhD program. But yeah, that's besides the point. I'm just trying to remember people at this point. But yeah, just like know that you cast such a big net, and like don't be afraid to reach out to people because they're more than willing to help you along the way. Habits for sustained success and happiness. And the key here is that these two go hand in hand, right? Like your success isn't as satisfying if your quality of life is shit. I will be honest with you. Like if I was achieving really, important things during my undergrad, but I was averaging like 3.5 hours of sleep, it did not faze me. And so at the grad school level, like I'm learning way, way more how to take care of myself. And that's something that I did not do at Temple. Things to do that, or tangible ways to maintain and create success for yourself. Create routines and structure, and maintain this structure when shit hits the fan in your academia. It's that point in the semester where midterms are coming up and you have like all the tests or all the papers. Create structure and like maintain that structure. For me, that means every morning I wake up. I wake up anywhere between 5 and 6 in the morning because like I want to make time for that. So I make a cup of coffee, and I don't check my emails, and I have this first cup of coffee, and then I go on a walk and listen to some kind of podcast or just like take in my surroundings for about half hour to an hour. And so that's by the time I get back to my apartment, it's 7 a.m. and I get ready for my day. So like if it means creating time in your day by like getting up a little bit earlier. And I also started journaling as of late too, to help put out my thoughts together. So I journal, have coffee, and go on my walk. And then that's like my routine in the morning. And I try not to deviate from that because I know that like my day is not going to be great if I don't have that structure, right? Find a way to cope with stress in addition to exercise. If you're going to strength and conditioning, or if you're just going to go to grad school in general, like your primary way of like dealing with stress, I'm sure like most of us, is exercise. Like, and people are going to ask you, what do you do in your spare time? It's like, well, I exercise in my spare time. They're like, what do you do besides exercise? I do yoga in my spare time. It's like, that's still exercise. Like, I struggle to figure out what like additional ways I cope with stress, and I don't, I struggle at finding additional ways. So for me, I don't bake, but like by all means, feel free to bake. For me, too many moving parts. I'm not great at it. I journal and I read, so that's what I do. If you want to like get into making pasta, by all means, like figure it out. Just like find a way to cope with stress that's different from exercise, because you will definitely benefit from it. Like I was saying earlier, make time for yourself. You can't pour out. A lot of us are moving into service industries, right? Like service first, where whether it's healthcare, whether it's strength and conditioning, you're caring about other people, right? Like you're not able to pour completely into people if you're completely empty. So you have to make time for yourself. And if that means like waking up a little bit earlier and going to bed, waking up earlier and going to bed earlier, like you got to do it. Text less, read more. Shout out Doc. So definitely, like I found that my quality of life starts to increase a little bit more if I'm on my phone a little bit less, because this time just like eats up if you're just like scrolling through Instagram and then all of a sudden like 30 minutes have gone by and you're like, oh shoot, like I have to get ready. So like read more. It's definitely like something that I'll say, but it won't stick with you until like later on. Like something that I kept seeing this like from Doc and I was like, whatever, like I'm fine. And then I find it like hits you at one moment and you're like, he just gets it. He just gets it. Big thing here, big thing here. I know the personalities in this room, undercommit, over deliver. I watched this really great video with a Merrimack fellow who's now a coach, and she said undercommit, over deliver. And so you have to look at your commitments like food on a plate. And so every time you put something on this plate, right, the plate keeps getting more and more filled. And if you keep putting stuff on your plate, something's going to fall off. And that means like that thing could be something like minute, but that thing could also be like a big opportunity. Like your experiences in being able to deliver for other people are contingent on like how much you can deliver for them. So if you can't give yourself 100% because you're sleep deprived, or if you're not eating, like or if you have too many things on your plate and like one thing slips, that thing might have been the opportunity at like to get like a more professional experience, or that person that you like messed up the commitment for is somebody who's like well connected in the field. So you definitely want to, something that I'm struggling with, but I'm getting better at, is under committing but over delivering. I had to like, it was really tempted for me. I really wanted to get a personal training job when I got here. And I'm qualified enough for the position, but if that was going to take away from my academia, which is my priority, and like my experience outside of the classroom, which is also an equal priority, then like, I have to bite the bullet financially, because I want to over deliver in those commitments. Remaining optimistic but positive, and positively affirm yourself every now and then. Remaining optimistic doesn't mean like you're all like sunshine and butterflies all the time. It means just like, you understand that things will get better, because we go in these waves here, right? Like our semester gets really shitty and then something nice happens, or you achieve something. Like you got to understand that like this area of difficulty will not last forever. And like every now and then you got to give yourself a pat on the back, because if you're super busy and you don't have the opportunity to see the people who love you around you, you have to write this positive affirmation for yourself every now and then. And I found that this has been really helpful when you find that you're doubting yourself. And then remember sacrificing. Remember why you started. Like sometimes you have to sacrifice certain aspects of your time, because time is the most valuable thing you honestly have to offer for people. At the end of the day, like your time is super valuable, and the number one thing that like you have to be able to give to somebody moving forward. And so like just remember that, right? So just remember that your time is super valuable. And like, if you're sacrificing time for your academia, that's okay. Like, if you're sacrificing time, like, your true friends will understand that you're sacrificing uh, time with them to help better yourself. And those people will be there when your workload is less high. So thank you. Big love, gratitude slide. Thank you. Good luck. These are my email addresses. If you don't have them, I also have my Temple email live, but I don't check it as often. So these are my emails. This is my social media, my LinkedIn. Connect with me, and my cell number if you ever want to chat about anything. You want to FaceTime, if you want to text, if you need something, give me a holler. I also wanted to open the floor for questions. Oh wow, it's 7:50. It's like that hour slot. Does anybody have questions about anything that I talked about today? And I definitely want to field like some stuff that you guys have on your mind.
So this isn't a question, but I just wanted to say, oh, sorry. I don't know if I just cut
Go
out.
ahead, Taylor.
I'm headed.
She freeze?
I think she did, yeah. But
Helpful
I might have
information.
said this. I was in the beginning finishing up an assignment, so I might have not been completely listening. Is there anything during your process of going through like grad school applications and like getting into grad school that you would have done differently that you know now that you've been through the whole process?
I would have done more research into like what the institution had to offer. I think at the time for me, I was really focused on trying to like get into a competitive school, like a well-known competitive school in exercise science. But in all reality, like, what you need are people there that can help you, right? Like, people there who share the same interests as you. Because again, like, if you're going to a program that like doesn't share the same research interests as you, or who can guide you, or don't have practitioners, like it won't be helpful for you. So that's definitely something. I didn't have to take the GRE, so that was a lot less stressful for me. But definitely, I would have done more research into the programs that I was applying to and the people who were there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
so I had a couple questions for you. So first, if you could, just talk about your coaching philosophy. What is it, and like, what do you hope to accomplish with it?
My number one coaching philosophy for me is, leave things better than than you found them. And that applies to people too, right? So like, my interactions with people are super valuable. And I always, when I'm working with an athlete, I want to ensure that I leave the individual better than I found them. Because I think in my personal experience, a lot of the times I've left strength and conditioning programs at the high school level, and I felt like I was snapped in half, like I felt really overlooked. And so I don't ever want a kid to feel like that, or an athlete to feel like that I work with. So leave things and people better than how you found them. In terms of periodization, I think I primarily do daily undulating periodization. If I'm working with a frequency of 3 times a week, depends on how much I have the team. So I implement daily undulating periodization for my team. I find that it gives me a lot of flexibility, and it also gives me the ability to train multiple biomotor abilities at once. So we could work strength, power, but then if we go in season, want to keep them a little bit more fresh, then we go power, strength, power. Or if we only have 2 times a week, we go like 2 power days if we're in season. Like, and they're like going to meet every Saturday, right? So you want them fresh so that potentiation can happen, right? So
Yeah, I absolutely love that, how you're just talking about leaving the athlete better than they were before, or just, bringing them back to an even better level than they were before. I just think that's really, really important for athlete development, and just, really improving their psychology and their overall strength. So now I just want to ask you about, tough times that athletes may occur if they make a mistake or they arrive to a lifting session, not on time, like they're late. So how would you deal with those situations as you as a coach? Would you prescribe, exercise as punishment, or what is your philosophy with that?
I mean, depends on if it's a chronic behavior or an acute behavior, and if I know the athlete, right? It all depends. If I know the athlete and the athlete is consistently late, like I'm going to have to address that with a coach, right? Like that's if you're late, like consistently, if you're late the first time, but you're usually on time, like I'll ask you why you're late, but I'll be like, don't be late again. If you're consistently late, I'm just going to tell you to get out, because like, like I said, my time is valuable. And so like the time that I have to deal with this is taking away from the athletes who are here on time. Right. So leave, I'll address it with the coach and make sure that the behavior doesn't happen again. So,
Yeah,
but
no,
I've
thank
seen
you.
it dealt with like a bunch of different ways. So like, I don't believe in like one way is the best, but like, I think for me, like that's the way that works the best for me. I know like a lot of football programs are just like, they're, you show up, if you're late, then like you have 100, med ball overhead slams, and then you're like, all right, like, now work out and don't be late again. And teaches you like, I don't want to do 100 med ball slams, so like I'm gonna fucking show up on time. So
Yeah, well put. And I just like how you said, there's no one size fits all approach. I guess it's dependent on the kind of culture that you want to instill with your program and your athletes. So
it's
that's
always like, it depends, because people are different.
right. Absolutely. Anybody else have any questions for Merv?
I have a couple questions, so they're mostly about like the actual application process.
Mhm.
So did you take your GREs? Because I mean, I'm not applying for strength and conditioning, but I am applying to grad school, so I'm just kind of interested in that.
Generally,